Okay, so for my co-equal lesson idea, I'm going to be looking at the relationship and kind of what was going on between segregation in the 1950s and also the relationship between that and when the Beatles come over from the UK. So we'll look first at my standards here. This is going to be a seventh grade lesson. It'll actually be in the social studies. There's just five standards that they use for every single grade level. And so the social studies standard that I'll be using is that societies are shaped by beliefs, idea, and diversity. And so a lot of this lesson will kind of bring in a little bit. In seventh grade, they look at Kansas history and then geography. And so this will actually pull in a little bit about Kansas history and kind of how my lesson will include kind of how the Beatles impacted them coming over, how it impacted us right here at home in Kansas in the 1950s and 60s. And the music standard is part of the creative part of the music standards because I will be having my students create a rap, and so and so they will actually have to create something that'll be kind of a classroom rap, which I'll kind of get to in a little bit. But that standard is present the final version of their documented personal composition, song, or arrangement using craftsmanship and originality to demonstrate unity and variety and convey expressive intent. So the objectives is I want the students to be able to recognize the impact that the Beatles had on segregation when they came over to the United States. So a lot of the lesson I actually found kind of a lesson online that I've modified quite a bit so it'll fit seventh grade. It's more of kind of a high school lesson, but I'll modify it quite a bit so it will fit with a seventh grade. There's some videos that are included in the lesson, some worksheets and whatnot. And so we'll be looking constantly throughout the lesson at what was going on in history at that time, but also what the Beatles were doing here in the United States, the music they were releasing, and how that music kind of seems to be impacted by what was going on in America at the time. And that's why my second objective is that students will be able to sing the song We Can Work It Out. And so that song has a lot of implications to segregation. A lot of people think it does anyway. Not necessarily, none of the Beatles have ever really come out and directly said that they wrote that song because of American segregation, but the lyrics of the song, they're very encouraging and just talk about let's work things out and let's kind of get together on this. So during my lesson, I would probably have a guitar and I would have the students, I'd teach the students a verse, one verse of the song and the chorus of the song. And we'd teach that, and then the students would sing that back. And then lastly, the students would be able to come up with a classroom rap that's encouraging. And I would foresee this as being a rap that, we could use during any time that kind of stresses are high in the classrooms. Would take you know, state assessments, for example. If we have state assessments and whatnot, maybe we could do the rap, encourage us, get the spirits high in the classroom, and know that we're all working together as a team to do good things in the classroom. So the activity that I would do is it would involve learning the history and relevance of the song. This is just one of the activities, but it would be learning the history and the relevance of the song. We Can Work It Out. So kind of how that song was written, what was going on at the time when that song was written in America, what was going on in America at the time when that song was written, and kind of how when the Beatles come over, their reaction to segregation, how they reacted at certain concerts and whatnot, and we would get to all that in the lesson, and then also I would teach the song We Can Work It Out. So we have the component of the history lesson. What's going on in America when the song is written, and what's going on at that time when the Beatles come over. And we also have the music component of singing the song We Can Work It Out. So I think the co-equal part here, the history, helps explain the song We Can Work It Out. It helps explain what's going on. So we have to have the history for the song part to work. but we also have to have a song for the history lesson to work, because the song kind of gives what we're learning some relevance and some meaning, and it kind of helps explain the feeling in the country during segregation. So that is the activity in that link right there. It's just a link to the song. We can work it out. Then the assessment, I probably would use a checklist for this assessment, strictly because I want the students to have pretty much as much freedom, as they can. Obviously, their rap would need to be appropriate, but I wouldn't worry about a rap not being appropriate, because the guidelines for the rap is going to be, hey, make this an encouraging, uplifting rap that we can use as a classroom, and that we can use, to lift spirits around our classroom. So the main thing that they would have to make sure they did was obviously that they'd work together and respectively, and to create the rap, and I would also want the students to actively participate in creating the classroom rap. So making sure they're respectful, making sure they're actively participating, and making sure they're paying attention during the lesson and that they're engaged, and then just making sure that they're helping sing along. We can work it out. So just a 20 points checklist. I would look at each student during the lesson. This would be something I would just eyeball during the lesson to make sure that they were paying attention and engaged, and that they were singing along, so they'd get the checks there. And then while they were creating the rap, I'd make sure that they were being respectful and working together and respectfully to create the rap. I have a typo there, respectively, but I meant respectfully. So making sure that they're working together to create that rap and being respectful to each other. And that's my project.